Alright, hello everyone. This is another unscripted thoughts on what I think of an action game that I played. And as you can see from the title screen, this one is called Bloodforge. I'm going to get it out of the way right now. I don't think this game is very good. I saw it just kind of randomly, like I think on the Xbox store. And I was thinking, this game looks kind of cool. Let me search it up. And a lot of the reviews and whatnot were not very positive. But I was going into this with a positive mindset, like, oh, it couldn't be that bad. Because games like, say, Splatterhouse got a pretty bad rep, but that game is actually quite fun, quite good. Not like amazing or anything, it has its flaws and whatnot, but it was a good game. This game is not like that. This game feels like it has no soul, uh, and it's very hapdash and slapdash in design, excuse me. uh, there is a jump button in the game, and there's no platforming in the game whatsoever. There's like no reason to jump in this game at all because the jump attacks are just not very good. Right here, we're going to the first level. One thing that is kind of cool about this game, at least, is that you can kind of go back to levels that you completed previously. But this is where we're going to get into a major problem with the game. There are cutscenes, and they're unskippable. That's right. Not very fun now, is it? And this happens every time you play the game, no matter how many times you play through. And it really kills the pacing. Uh, the story itself is a very basic revenge plot. A lot of people compare it to God of War, although God of War actually had like tragedy to it. This is just very one note and it falls immensely flat on it. You don't really get to learn anything about the world around you. You barely get to learn anything about Crom himself. That's the main character, which I will admit, he does look cool. I do think the game looks okay. One thing to note about this game is that this is a Xbox Live Arcade game. So I guess for that type of game, it looks quite nice. The dark shadows are really nice. They really accentuate like the silhouettes of the character designs, particularly Crom himself. I think the character designs actually look really cool, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to pick up this game and hope it was good. But it's not. What was I saying before? Yes, the story. Calling this like a God of War clone in general, I think is a disservice to God of War. In fact, it barely plays like God of War at all. There's barely, if nothing, comparative to it, other than some QTEs, I guess, and even then, they're not really. But yeah, this is basically a nothing story where Crom's village, I guess, gets invaded by some dudes, servants of Iran, and he accidentally kills his wife somehow. And it's through like some trickery by like apparently Iran. Um, but it actually wasn't him, so there was literally like no reason to have any beef against him, and it's some other deity that wants to like manipulate fate or some shit. I don't remember. The story is honestly completely forgettable. There's barely anything to the game when it comes to the story. um, Now, what about the gameplay? How about the gameplay? That could be pretty all right. Is that is that so? I mean, like maybe. It could be. You fight these enemies right here. This is the only time you fight these enemies, and they're just like, well, not really. You fight them later on in the game as like more advanced versions. As far as gameplay goes, you have light and heavy attacks. You can chain them together to do different combos. You can kind of dodge cancel, but only, uh, bef- I want to say before the active frames or in recovery frames, so you can't just do it whenever. Um, And it's weird because you can hold dodge, and if you hold dodge, he just moves towards the camera. The camera itself is not very good. For whatever reason, it seems to have like kind of a physical presence in the world. So if you tilt it down, it will like bounce back up. It's very strange. I don't know why they did it like this. And there's not too much to the game as well. Like you can power up your attacks with like mana, but they literally do nothing besides give you a small boost in damage. And they each take up like a little slot. So if you keep using it, you'll find yourself losing mana a lot. And there's only so many items and little like what's the word? Stones, I guess, that have them. I don't know. Oh, I will say that the item system is a bit interesting because there are items scattered throughout the world, and that's the only way that you can heal Crom or like get mana back or anything like that. And it's kind of an interesting take. The problem being is that the game compensates on when you die, and it gives you back a little bit of health. So it completely ruins the system that it has when it comes to how you're supposed to handle and manage your health. And there's a ton of checkpoints in the game, so it barely even matters. This game could have actually been quite challenging if it wasn't for that fact. But unfortunately, it is not the case. I don't know why the footage froze. Like, it's actually quite choppy. Surprised. One thing you will notice is that some parts of the video will be kind of choppy, and that's because I did record this on my Xbox One, and I just transferred it over with Xbox One Companion when I could have just streamed it on Xbox Console Companion and then used OBS to record, but I really don't care. It was just slightly more convenient, I guess. I don't know. Or at the very least, I just wasn't thinking about it because this game doesn't really deserve that type of treatment. You do use the A button to interact with some of the environment. It's just namely to kick down walls, but that's really it. The game is incredibly linear. There are quote unquote secrets to find, but they're basically right in front of you. There's only like one that I missed, and all I had to do was knock down a gate that appears in the second level, I believe. It could be the third. I don't remember. And that's one thing that really bothers me about this game. The character progression is so lame in this game. You just find weapons out in the open. You don't gain them from bosses. You don't steal them from enemies. You just find them in the levels, and you just take them, including his sword, his main weapon. Which, I mean, one thing about character action games is that a lot of them usually have like a staple weapon that the character uses, and it's usually really like it's part of the character itself. Like Kratos, he has the blades of Olympus. Ryu Hayabusa has the dragon sword. Dante has rebellion. You know, it's all part of the character, for a lack of a better set of words. And Crom just fucking throws his shit away for some shiny new shit. And it's honestly really lame. And when you do get a new weapon, it just gives you new abilities, which is fine, but it just means the character progression is incredibly just dull. There's no upgrade points for your weapons. There are for magic for some reason, which I will get into a little bit. And that's the only thing you upgrade. You can technically upgrade your health and how many mana slots you have, but they're just out in the open and you're not going to miss them really. um, as far as the magic goes, there's three different types of magic. One where it summons serpents, one that crystallizes enemies, and one that summons lightning or something. Um, they're kind of unremarkable. The only one that's kind of useful is the lightning one because that actually like kills enemies. The crystal one just kind of freezes them, and the snake one barely does shit. Um, yeah, you're going to see repeating footage, and I don't feel like editing that much for this. So. Now there is a dodge function, like I said, and it acts very strangely. Uh, it's not the best. It has very little invul frames, so you're going to get like right there. I got hit even though I was in my dodge. So the game will expect you to take a hit, which I think is fine, but inconsistent invul frames, or at least lack of them, are really frustrating. Although the damage is so negligible in this game, it barely matters. And you get so many health drops in this game, again, it barely matters. And if you die, you have a ton of checkpoints, and it gives you health back, so it barely matters. The game really isn't that challenging. I died like maybe a handful of times. Now, the game does have an okay variety of enemies. It does kind of, you know, have a progression of that at least, where like enemies become a little bit more dynamic, a bit more interesting. There are like mage type enemies that throw projectiles at you. There are ones that power up and gain armor, or they get like dash attacks. There's like little guys that like just kind of mob at you, and they die in like 2 hits. So yeah, there's that too. So the enemy variety is it's not terrible. Problem being is that enemies either have a moderate amount of health, or they take way too much damage. Um, Especially the big guys, which you will see later in this video. For like a second or so, because I instant kill him. Which gets to the Blood Rage mechanic. There's a Blood Rage mechanic that will appear on later in the video, and unfortunately it's not very good. You might compare it to something like, say, the Rage of the Gods, or whatever the hell it is in God of War, or Devil Trigger and Devil May Cry. It is nothing like those, because you don't gain access to any new moves, and if you get hit, it just basically goes away. And its main function is supposed to do damage. It slightly slows down time, and you could do certain finishers that you normally can't do, so you can instant kill basically any enemy. But the main strategy basically is to whittle down the little guys. If you see a big guy, go rage mode, and then do the special finisher on him, so you can instant kill him, because they take way too fucking long to kill, even with fully upgraded weapons. Which makes the game kind of a bore and a slog to get through. There are launcher moves in this game, so you think there'd be air combos, but it's literally just the launcher, and it just does an automatic attack, and then you press the button and you just do a slam move, and that's it. One thing that does tick me off about this game as well is like how many hit reactions enemies have. There really aren't that many. So there aren't that many states like what you can do to the enemies. You know, either they'll just be in hit stun, or sometimes they'll kind of be juggled in the air, and sometimes they'll be launched, and that's the basis of most action games, but there really isn't that many hit reactions in this game. It's similar to Ninja Gaiden with its finishers, because you use the heavy attack button to finish them off. Although comparing it to Ninja Gaiden is quite apt, to say the least. And the whole game is like this. There's no puzzles or anything. There's no platforming. It's just this. for the whole fucking game. Yeah, sorry again for the skipping, fight scenes and whatnot, but it really isn't that interesting. Um, there's honestly not a lot to say about the game. Combat's really dull in general. It's not good. I was hoping it would be like, somewhat decent, like some other games I've played, but there really isn't much to it. Splatterhouse and even Rise Son of Rome have like decent gameplay, where it's kind of satisfying. Like this game just barely holds any weight. The animations feel kind of like they don't have proper weight to them. At least when it comes to hitting enemies, it's not very satisfying. Uh, and now you just saw there was a ranking system in the game. The ranking system is not explained at all. This is just some short clips that I had of glitches and whatnot. But the ranking system is just doesn't tell you anything at all. As far as I'm aware, the game ranks you on how much damage you take, how many finishers you do, and whether or not you use the magic, I guess. If you use magic or whatever, you won't get an S rank. If you take no damage, you're more guaranteed an S rank. And as long as you do a couple of finishers, you'll get an S rank. Right here are the claws. You do get other weapons in the game. They're really not that great. I just mostly use the sword. It's the middling weapon of the game, so. Ranking system isn't that great. There's like no feedback, and even then there's no tangible rewards for it, really. Camera freaking out right there. And I nearly died because of it. And why would you want to play this game for rank? I mean, there are achievements where if you get like 3 S ranks in a row, you get an achievement, which is kind of cool, I guess, but why would you? One thing to know about this game is that it does have leaderboards, so I guess there's that. So I guess S ranks do kind of matter, but not really, because there's barely any reason to get better, because there's no finesse to the combat. One interesting thing about the game, though, is that you can make challenges in survival arenas in this game after you beat it, and you can send it to your friends if they have the game. And nobody is playing this game, so I can't get all the achievements. Not that I care that much. I basically got all the offline achievements. I don't have the online ones, which sucks, but whatever, I guess. The footage you're seeing right now is towards the end of the game. I believe this is called the Forsaken Lands. But yeah, calling this like a God of War clone is a very undermining like kind of comparison, because this really does not play like God of War at all. It's a very shallow like examination of the game, I think. This is another glitch that happened, because this game is actually pretty glitchy, and not in a fun way. Not in a fun way like Ninja Gaiden 2. Ninja Gaiden 2 is at least funny. This game's not funny. And it's not that good. Boss battles are kind of lame. Some of them just kind of wait around for you to wail on them. They barely have any attacks. The most interesting one was Iran, and he had a bunch of unskippable cutscenes. And yeah, this game just isn't very good. And I would not recommend spending the $10 that I spent getting it. Unless you really want to be an achievement hunter and get all those achievements. Ooh. It just seems like kind of wasted potential, because this game seems like it would be really cool, though. In all seriousness. And it's a shame. And one interesting fact about the game is that the people who made the Ghost Rider game made this game. which is interesting because I've seen speedruns of Ghost Rider, and that game actually has like really cool movement. So, and there's like no like finesse to anything in this game. No finesse to combat, no finesse to movement. Like, it's just not a good game. And I know what you're thinking. Why would you make a game, or excuse me, why would you make a video on a game that no one gives a fuck about? Because I thought it was interesting, and yeah, that's the main thing. I thought it was interesting, and unfortunately disappointed me, and I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. I can't recommend this game to action game enthusiasts. I really can't. I can't recommend this game to like people who like God of War or anything like that. I don't think it's a very good game. All right. I think this video has gone on long enough. There's not even anything playing. So I'll catch you guys later.